The old church stood at the end of Maple Street, its tall spires reaching for the sky like hands trying to grasp a fleeting hope. Inside the quiet sanctuary, where dust danced in the beams of light that streamed through stained glass windows, a girl named Lily found her refuge. At 16, Lily had experienced a world that felt too heavy for her small shoulders. Nights were often long and lonely, and the church's pews became her makeshift bed. One fateful evening, after a long day of school and sullen glances from classmates, Lily slipped into the church, seeking solace from the world outside. She laid down on the cool wooden pew, wrapping herself in a worn-out hoodie that was 2 sizes too big. The familiar smell of old wood and candles calmed her racing heart. Lily closed her eyes, letting the silence swallow her whole. While she often thought she was alone, that night someone else was in the church. Father Jim, the kind priest with gentle eyes, had come to tidy up after an afternoon service. He noticed the slight rustling sound in the back of the chapel. Curious, he peered into the dim light and saw her there, curled up in the pew like a lost lamb. He called softly, mindful not to startle her. Lily opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the light. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to explain why she was there. In her mind, she wasn't being brave. She was just trying to survive. But Father Jim's warmth wrapped around her like a cozy blanket. "I'm fine," she replied, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Father Jim stepped closer, bending down so he could see her clearly. "You don't have to pretend here. This place is safe." Lily hesitated. It was hard for her to open up, even to someone who seemed to genuinely care. But in that moment, as she searched Father Jim's eyes for any hint of judgment, she saw only compassion. She took a deep breath, the weight of her troubles pressing on her chest. "It's just, I don't fit in anywhere," she confessed, the words spilling out before she could stop them. At school, at home, Father Jim knelt beside her, resting his hands on the worn wood. "You are not alone in that feeling, Lily. You might think the world has turned its back on you, but just look around. You're in a place filled with love and stories." Lily watched as the flickering candles made soft shadows dance on the walls. "And there's a reason for that," he replied gently. "Sharing our stories takes courage." As Father Jim spoke, Lily thought about her classmates. Some seemed to live in a bubble of happiness, surrounded by friends and laughter. But deeper down, she felt a connection to outsiders, to the kids who sat alone at lunch, the ones who walked the hallways with their heads down. They were like unpicked flowers, waiting for someone to stop and notice. She whispered, the vulnerability in her voice cutting through the silence. "They might surprise you," Father Jim replied. That night, Lily didn't sleep in fear. Father Jim's words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, igniting a flicker of hope deep within. As she lay there, a decision began to form in her mind. Maybe she could find the courage to speak her truth. Days turned into weeks, and Lily started returning to the church more often. Each time, Father Jim would greet her with a smile and a listening ear. She began to share stories not only about her struggles, but about the things she loved too, the forgotten corners of her town, the beauty of music, and the magic hidden in books. Every word pulled her closer to the light, shedding layers of loneliness and fear. As her heart began to open, something magical happened. One afternoon, she found herself walking alongside a girl from school named Maya, someone she would have never imagined talking to before. Maya had dark curly hair and her laugh was infectious, but she hadn't seemed to fit in either. "Hey Lily, I noticed you sometimes sit by yourself," Maya said, pausing. "I do too." Lily's heart raced. Could it be that simple? She looked into Maya's eyes, and that spark of connection was undeniable. Lily and Maya started spending time together. They wandered through the park, shared stories over ice cream, and sometimes even made their way to the church to escape the chaos of their lives. They both found comfort in the familiar walls that seemed to echo their laughter. One evening, as they sat on the steps of the church watching the sun sink low in the sky, Maya turned to Lily. "You know, I felt so alone for a long time. I didn't think anyone understood until you came along." Tears filled Lily's eyes. The weight of her loneliness had been so heavy for so long, but now it felt lighter, like a balloon ready to take flight. "I feel the same way," she admitted. That night, as she settled into the pews, she looked around at the illuminated church. It felt different now, alive with stories, promises, and connections. Father Jim had been right. She was not alone after all. Days turned into months, and Lily began to bring more friends from school to the church. They started a small group where anyone feeling lost could come together, share stories, and support one another. The church became a hub of laughter and connection, echoing with the sounds of young voices finding solace and understanding. Their little group decided to organize a community event to raise awareness about loneliness and mental health. They painted banners, invited local musicians, and even baked treats to share. The church, once a place of solitude for Lily, was transformed into a vibrant, safe space filled with love and hope. The morning of the event, Lily felt a mix of excitement and nerves. People began streaming through the doors, and with each new face that entered, she felt a rush of affirmation. They set up tables filled with stories waiting to be shared, and as the day unfolded, she watched as people formed connections, healing in each other's presence. Father Jim stood by her side, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You did this, Lily. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but they were different now. They were not tears of sadness, but tears of joy. "We did this together," she replied, glancing at her friends who had once felt just as lost. As the sun dipped below the horizon that evening, Lily stood with her heart full, surrounded by friends and strangers alike, all united by their shared experiences. They had learned that sometimes it's in the moments of vulnerability that we find our greatest strength. That day, the church pews that once felt so empty echoed with laughter, stories, and hope. And in the midst of it all, Lily realized that she had never truly been alone. While her journey had been difficult, it had also led her to something far more important than she ever could have imagined: community. As leaves fell outside, the sound of music filled the air and Lily's spirit soared. Because in a world that had once felt so isolating, she had found a home right there, in the hearts of those she loved and in the warmth of the church. The girl who slept in the church pews, now surrounded by so much love, was no longer just surviving, she was truly living. Lily lay curled up in the shadowy corner of the old church, the worn pew cradling her like a comforting friend. It was just past midnight when the door creaked open and the moonlight slipped inside, casting an otherworldly glow on the crumbling stone walls. It was a moment that felt alive, thick with secrets and untold stories. Outside, the world boomed with life, the laughter of late-night revelers, the distant sounds of sirens, the hum of cars racing down the busy street. But here, in this sanctuary where time stood still, Lily sought refuge from it all. Most people thought she was just a rebellious girl with a penchant for solitude. They didn't understand why she chose to sleep in a place like this or why she turned her back on the chaos outside. To them, it was just a building with tall spires and stained glass. To Lily, it was a shell protecting her from everything that felt too heavy: the weight of expectations, the sting of cruel words, and the creeping feeling of total abandonment. On that fateful night, she pulled her hoodie tighter around her slight frame and nestled deeper into the cool wood. A chill ran through the air, and for a moment she felt a shiver creep up her spine. The church had always been a refuge, but tonight it felt different. It buzzed with a mysterious energy, like a volume turned up just known to her. That is when she heard it, a soft sound, a whisper trailing through the silence. Was it just her imagination playing tricks? Lily forced her eyes open, straining to listen. The whisper grew louder, a soft melody of voices mingling with the rustling of paper. Confusion surged in different directions within her. One more moment, she thought, and then she'd decide whether to investigate or simply brush it off as another oddity. But the most curious part was that, as she listened, she realized she wasn't alone. Cautiously, she sat up, trying to make sense of this new development. From the shadows emerged a group of people, 3, 4, maybe 5, huddled together at the front altar, illuminated by a flickering candle. There was laughter, soft and joyous, in stark contrast to the solitude Lily had come to know. Fueled by a mixture of anxiety and curiosity, she slid off the pew and padded towards the sound. As she crept closer, she noticed their faces, lit by the warm candlelight, glowing with a light she had long given up seeking. They weren't just strangers. They were young like her, some with hair dyed bright colors, others adorned with piercings, but all wore expressions of wonder and connection. One of the girls asked, her words punctuated by a sparkle in her eye. She held up a tiny watercolor painting of the church, the strokes vibrant and free. "I believe in us. We just need to show everyone what we can create here," a boy responded, his voice strong and uplifting. His confidence surged like a wave, pulling Lily closer. At that moment, Lily felt a jolt of recognition. These kids, were they the outcasts? Did they share her experiences of feeling misplaced, of being unseen? Bordering on brave, she took a step forward, but then hesitated. What would she say? Suddenly, the girl with the painting turned to Lily, her eyes widening in surprise. "Hey," caught off guard, Lily shook her head, trying to muster the right words. I didn't mean to interrupt. Curious is good," the boy enthused, beckoning her to join them. "We meet here to share art, ideas, dreams. It's a safe space." Lily stood frozen for a moment, heart racing. A safe space, those words wrapped around her like silk. She had spent so many nights alone. Why hadn't she thought to seek others who felt the same? Was this, perhaps, what it felt like to take the first step toward belonging? As if sensing her hesitation, the girl with the painting gestured toward the candles on the altar. "Each of us brings a piece of ourselves to the table." Lily felt her breath hitch in her throat. "Everyone has something to share," the boy said, firm but gentle. "Your experience, what it's been like to sleep alone in the pews, it matters. Your story could be a painting, a poem, or even just a shared moment." At that moment, something shifted inside her. It was like a door creaking open after years of being shut tight. In all her hours spent feeling invisible, she hadn't realized that perhaps the key to her loneliness lay in the darkness, where creativity lived and breathed. Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her truth. As the hours melted away, laughter echoed off the stone walls, merging with the flicker of the candles and the warmth spreading through her heart. The group shared stories wrought with both sorrow and hope, stories of friendships that faded, love lost, passions unfulfilled. Experience was as diverse as they were, painted in vivid colors across the tapestry of the moment. In the weeks that followed, Lily returned to the church more often. Each evening, the group resonated with purpose. They brainstormed, designed, and created magic out of the mundane. Lily found a voice she never knew she had. She took up drawing for the first time, spilling her heart onto the page with every brushstroke. The once dim corners of her life began to illuminate with friendship, love, and shared dreams. One day, as they settled into familiar laughter, the girl with the painting, named Zoe, spoke up. The boy, whom she learned was named Marcus, nodded enthusiastically. "It's like the universe brought us together." Lily marveled at how their bond formed out of the ashes of their fears. Each meeting became a therapy session, a renaissance of self-acceptance. The church pews became stages where they performed their pieces not for applause, but as ritualistic offerings showing the world who they were, raw and unfiltered. As they prepared for a viewing of their project, Lily felt both excitement and anxiety intertwining in her chest. Each piece told a story, a vulnerability laid bare in ink and color. When the day came and the community started filing in, she realized she wasn't just revealing her heart, she was welcoming others into a world of acceptance. Families entered, curious expressions on their faces, and to Lily's surprise, she recognized some of her classmates among them. They looked at her, their eyes narrowing in confusion and interest, perhaps wondering why they had never truly seen her before. With every sip of the punch, every small talk, she could feel the invisible threads connecting her stories to theirs. As she stood in front of the gathered crowd, she felt a wave of confidence hit her. "I'm Lily," she announced, her voice steady and clear. "What you see here, these pieces of art, there are stories. They might seem small or insignificant, but they're moments in time, moments that made us feel lonely or unworthy." The applause erupted, washing over her like a mile-high wave. She spotted Father Jim standing at the back, pride shining in his eyes. He had sensed her struggle, and now he watched her bloom. The night unfolded like a tapestry, woven from laughter and stories collided together. The warmth in her heart felt infinite. She watched as other kids from school mingled with her new friends, smiles spreading as they shared their own experiences of feeling isolated. In that moment, she realized she had formed a bridge of connection among those who had felt unseen for so long. The girl who once thought she was destined to sleep alone in the church pews had ignited a spark that illuminated the paths of others. Weeks turned into months. Their group not only found strength in each other, they became a beacon of hope for the community, sharing their project in schools, sharing stories that needed to be told. The little church transformed into a safe harbor where young souls could gather, heal, and rise together. Lily stood one night looking out at the stars as the evening cooled around her. The moonlight poured down like shimmering silver, reminding her of those early nights with loneliness gripping her heart. But now there was laughter echoing in her ears and connections intertwining her fate with others. Marcus appeared beside her, the easy grin on his face bringing warmth into the night. "I am actually," Lily replied, her voice steady, filled with a sense of belonging she had never felt before. He pointed toward the group inside, still sharing their stories. "We lifted each other up." Lily nodded, her heart swelling. "I can't believe how far we've come." He clapped her on the back, his gesture bursting with encouragement. "You're not only seen, Lily, you're a light now." That night, surrounded by friends and laughter echoing against the hallowed walls of the church, Lily understood that the loneliness that once defined her was now a story woven into the fabric of a much larger tale. And as she looked out at the stars, radiant and shining, she realized she was never truly alone. In the hearts of the people she had unwittingly gathered, she found home. Lily heard the church bells ringing late into the night, their solemn chimes echoing through the empty streets. She wrapped her arms tighter around her knees, tucked away in the dim corner of the old church, and tried to drown out the world outside. The pews were cool against her skin, offering a strange comfort as she closed her eyes. She had become a ghost in this sacred space, slipping in and out like a shadow, searching for a place to belong. On that particular evening, after yet another day of unanswered questions and hurtful whispers, she heard footsteps approaching. Heart racing, she squeezed her eyes shut. The last thing she wanted was for someone to see her sprawled in a church, alone and vulnerable. But as the heavy wooden door creaked open, a sliver of hopeful light poured into the darkness. A voice called softly. It was a woman, probably in her late 30s, with a kind face and gentle eyes. She stepped inside, oblivious to the girl hiding in the pews. With a small pile of paperwork in her arms, she moved toward the altar, flicking on a single lamp that cast a warm glow across the room. The woman's presence felt comforting, a soothing balm to Lily's restless heart. Lily took a deep breath, wondering if she should make herself known, but a part of her hesitated. What would this stranger think of her? Would she see past the hoodie and the tangled hair to the girl who felt like she was always stuck on the outside looking in? As if sensing her internal struggle, the woman began to speak again. "I just love this place," she said, her voice soft and melodic. "It's like a second home to me." Lily slowly opened her eyes, peeking out from behind the barrier of the pew. There was something about the woman, this energy she created, making the oppressive silence feel less intimidating. With each word, the world outside faded, her heart synchronized with the gentle rhythm of the woman's voice. She paused. Something inside Lily shifted. That simple introduction wrapped itself around her heart, warming her soul. I'm Lily, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah turned toward her, concern etched on her face. Oh, there you are. I didn't see you sitting there. In that moment, Lily felt a rush of honesty. With every question she answered, even every minute she stayed in that space, she peeled back layers of loneliness that had clung to her for far too long. I don't really know, she admitted. I don't fit in anywhere. Sarah nodded, her eyes sympathetic. You're not the only one who feels lost. As their conversation deepened, Lily learned that Sarah wasn't just a random face. She had come to this church for years, starting a community group for those who felt isolated. She brought in art supplies, helped organize events, and forged connections among people who, like Lily, found solace within those walls. Sarah asked, her voice soft yet insistent. We gather to share our stories and create. Lily hesitated, crossing her arms tightly around her knees. I don't know, I'm not an artist. Trust me, Lily, Sarah said, leaning closer, her gaze steady and encouraging. There's a creator in all of us. That night, as Lily drifted into an uneasy sleep in the pews, Sarah's words echoed in her mind. She thought of the people she passed in the halls at school, the whispers and laughter that sometimes stung like tiny embers. She felt invisible among them, like a mist that vanished before anyone could notice. But what if she did join Sarah's group? What would it feel like to be a part of a community that understood her struggle? The thought both scared and thrilled her, planting a tiny seed of hope in the dark corners of her mind. The next evening, Lily stood hesitantly outside the church, its old stone facade looming above her like a guardian. The streetlights flickered, casting playful shadows. With a shuddering breath, she stepped inside. Sarah was there, setting up tables, arranging supplies. When she spotted Lily, her face lit up. I thought about it, Lily admitted, feeling her cheeks flush. You already belong, Sarah assured her, reaching for a paintbrush. Tentatively, Lily joined the circle of mismatched chairs set up in the middle of the sanctuary. Others were already there, sharing stories and laughter, painting, drawing, and creating in the way that felt right to them. She observed them for a moment, the girl doodling in the corner, the guy strumming on an acoustic guitar, and others who were just chatting about their day. A small lump of fear twisted in her stomach. You are not alone in feeling like that, a voice broke into her thoughts. It was a girl named Mia with curly hair and bright eyes. The first time I came, I didn't think I'd fit in either. Before she realized it, Lily was smiling. There was a connection forming, fragile yet powerful, like threads spun together into a tapestry. She picked up a brush, the bristles soft against her fingertips, mixing colors on a palette as she soaked in the room's energy. One by one, they shared stories, weaving their experiences with vulnerability and laughter, balancing on the edge of pain and joy. Lily listened to each account, things she could relate to, moments of feeling discarded, unseen in their own lives. As they spoke, Lily felt each voice filling a void she didn't know existed. Here, they weren't just individuals, they were pieces of a shared puzzle. When it was her turn, her heart thundered against her ribs, and Lily hesitated. But Sarah's encouraging smile pushed her forward. It's okay. Taking a deep breath, Lily opened her mouth, the words flowing faster than she could have imagined. I've always felt like a ghost, like I'm floating around without anyone noticing. I mean, at school, no one really sees me. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward her. But here in this place, she gestured around the room, I can finally feel something different. As the laughter and shared memories merged, Lily noticed her fear begin to split like light breaking through a crack in a door. There was warmth everywhere, a blanket woven from vulnerability and acceptance. Days turned to weeks, each meeting blossoming with creativity and connection. The church transformed into a haven where people swapped stories and built friendships that felt like anchors in a stormy sea. They painted, wrote, performed, and shared tears and laughter, creating a vibrant tapestry of life. On a cool Friday evening, they launched a gallery night, displaying their work for family and friends. Excitement thrummed through the air as they adorned the walls with paintings, poems, and sketches, revealing their stories through art. As they gathered around the makeshift gallery, Lily stood back, awe-stricken by the beauty. The space buzzed with energy, the atmosphere a symphony of voices mingling with pride and joy. People laughed, pointed at their favorite pieces, and offered warm compliments, a beautiful acknowledgement of their shared journey. While everyone mingled, Lily noticed something unsettling. A small group of her classmates sauntered in, their expressions a mix of confusion and curiosity. They didn't belong here, she thought. They were the ones who had cast her aside for so long. But before she could retreat, Sarah appeared at her side. Don't let their energy dim yours, Sarah encouraged. As the night wore on, Lily's classmates wandered closer, glancing at the pieces hanging on the wall, vibrant depictions of pain, hope, and unity. When they arrived at Lily's piece of watercolor that splashed colors in turbulent waves, with a light breaking through, something inside her shifted. One of the boys from school, Nathan, stared at her artwork, eyes wide. Lily, there was a beat of silence before she replied. He took a step back, surprise etched on his face. It's amazing, I didn't know you could. In that moment, the air felt charged. All the torment she had felt over the years was compressed into those few words. She felt seen. More than that, she felt acknowledged, not just by Nathan, but by a community that had embraced her. she said, her voice trembling slightly. As Nathan nodded, the other classmates gathered around. Each one shared something surprising, a compliment, a moment of understanding, even an apology for the past. They talked about the pressures they had all felt, the masks they wore to fit in. At that moment, the past faded like a distant memory. It became clear that they were all vulnerable creatures yearning for connection, even if they didn't know how to express it before. As the night wore on, Lily felt lighter. She looked around at her friends, Sarah, Mia, Marcus, all gathered, sharing smiles and laughter with the classmates who once made her feel small. Under the dim lights in that sacred church space, they had transformed from strangers into a tapestry of kinship woven with shared experiences. Weeks turned into months. Their community blossomed, drawing in even more lost souls as they embarked on a mission to volunteer, create art with the underprivileged, and foster connections in their town. Lily's perspective shifted gradually, like the brushstrokes of her paintings, revealing new colors she had never dared to explore. Motherly wisdom often came from Sarah, who led discussions inspired by the artwork they created. Art isn't just about making something beautiful, she would say. One evening, while they were cleaning up after a particularly energetic meeting, Lily thanked Sarah for her kindness. "I can't believe how much I've changed," she said. "You found your voice," Sarah replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're no longer the girl who sleeps in the pews." As her hand lingered on Lily's shoulder, the weight of her journey fell away. She was no longer the ghost drifting through the echoes of hollow walls. She had transformed slowly, deliberately woven into the very fabric of hope, acceptance, and love. In that moment, Lily realized she had journeyed from isolation to belonging, from silence to a symphony of shared voices. Whether standing in front of a crowded room or lying alone in pews, she now understood one irrefutable truth: she had never truly been alone. Amidst the laughter, creativity, and bonds formed in that old sanctuary, Lily found her place not in the shadows but among the light. And finally, she became part of a larger story, one that celebrated connection in the most profound way. The church bells rang in the stillness, the sound tumbling softly through the night air, echoing into Lily's reality. She sat curled up in a pew, arms wrapped around her knees, the cool wood pressing against her skin. Outside, the world pulsed with life cars zoomed by, laughter floated on the breeze, and the chaos of adolescence swirled just beyond the tall stained glass windows. But within these sacred walls, time felt different. Here it was just her, the quiet, and the faint smell of incense lingering in the air. Tonight, though, felt heavier. The weight of loneliness had settled into her bones like a winter chill. She closed her eyes tightly, desperately wishing to block out the world. To fend off the sting of words spoken during lunch hours, the sidelong glances from classmates who didn't quite understand her. She was invisible, trapped in a glass bubble where the outside world was vibrant and loud, but she remained unseen. Suddenly, the moment was punctured by the creak of the heavy door. Her heart skipped a beat. She crouched lower, hoping to remain hidden, but curiosity tugged at her, forcing her to peek from the shadows of the pew. A woman stepped in, her silhouette backlit by moonlight, an ethereal image that contrasted sharply with the darkness that enveloped Lily. The woman called out, her voice a gentle melody weaving through the silence. Lily held her breath, uncertain but unable to look away. The woman was dressed casually, her hair cascading around her shoulders. There was a warmth about her, an aura of peace that felt almost contagious. "I come here to find solace," the woman continued, as if she was speaking to the empty room, unaware of Lily's watchful gaze. Lily swallowed hard, her heart racing. Was it possible that someone else could feel this way, that they too found refuge in these quiet corners? The thought lit a tiny spark within her. Maybe I'm not alone after all, she whispered to herself, half hoping the woman would hear her, half wishing to retreat back into the shadows. Minutes passed, and the woman began to move toward the altar, her soft footsteps stirring the dust that had settled over the years. She lit a candle, its flame flickering like a heartbeat, creating warmth that danced across the stone walls. Then, without warning, the woman turned and spotted Lily tucked away. "Oh," her voice was like sunlight breaking through a cloud. "I didn't see you hiding back there." Caught off guard, Lily felt the urge to stay hidden, but found herself drawn toward the invite, compelled by the woman's genuine warmth. Slowly, she emerged from her cocoon of shadows. "I'm Lily," she stammered, her voice barely rising above the whisper of the candlelight. "I'm Sarah," the woman replied, her smile widening. "I'm glad you're here." Lily blinked as the words settled in. "Friends." It felt impossible, an idea that danced just beyond her reach. She followed Sarah, her heart pounding in her chest as they settled near the altar, surrounded by flickering candles. Sarah asked, her voice soothing. "Not really," Lily admitted, biting her lip. Sarah nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. "We all need that sometimes. I come here to find peace, to think and to create." Lily felt a jolt of anxiety at the thought of sharing her story, her experiences. He asked, a tremor of doubt in her voice. "Not just artists, people from all walks of life. Everyone has a story, and every story matters. You should join us," Sarah suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Lily hesitated, the weight of her loneliness colliding with a strange flicker of hope. "Trust me, you'll find a community that understands. It's about being real, being honest," Sarah urged. For the first time in ages, that flicker of hope felt stronger. Would it be so bad to try? What if these people like Sarah understood what it was like to be invisible, to feel lost in a sea of faces? As Lily wrapped her mind around Sarah's words, a soft rustling drew her attention. In the corner of the room, a girl named Mia sat sketching with intense focus. The pencil moved fluidly across the page, the strokes revealing a vivid landscape. Sarah called out. Mia looked up and smiled. Sure. With that gentle invitation, Lily stepped closer, intrigued. As Mia shared her sketch, Lily felt a jolt of connection. The drawing depicted people, each figure surrounded by a glow, standing together in unity. I often feel the warmth here, Mia explained. Lily's breath caught in her throat. For so long she had felt the darkness creeping in, but Mia's artwork illuminated a path through it. It was a small reminder that maybe there was still beauty to be found. After that first encounter, each week Lily returned to the church. Fear slowly unraveled, replaced with the warmth of budding friendships and shared experiences. The group became her beacon. They painted, wrote poems, shared their fears, and laughed in ways Lily had almost forgotten existed. Each encounter was a new brushstroke, painting a brighter picture of her life. Through it all, Sarah remained a gentle presence, guiding them as they explored their creativity. Art opens doors, she would say. It allows us to express things we may not even know we feel. One evening, while the sun dipped below the horizon, coloring the sky in fiery oranges and pinks, they planned their first showcase, a way to share their stories with the community. Lily felt a wave of excitement and fear wash over her. Would people come? Would they understand? When the night finally arrived, the church pulsed with energy. Warm glow of candles spilled across the room, illuminating the faces of friends who had become like family. The walls, adorned with paintings and poetry, felt alive with anticipation. Mia stepped up first, her hands trembling just slightly as she began to speak. As she shared her piece, Lily watched the audience's reactions transform from curiosity to rapture. They were captivated. Next was Marcus, his acoustic guitar cradled in his hands, strumming melodies that resonated deep within the heart. The room swayed like waves under his voice, and in that moment Lily felt a surge of courage pulse through her veins. It was time for her to step into the light. With each heartbeat, doubts swelled within her. What would they think? But then she felt Sarah's encouraging presence beside her, and she took a deep breath, reminding herself how far she had come. When she finally stood in front of the crowd, her heart raced. The words spilled out of her, raw and vulnerable. I used to think I was alone. I often felt like a ghost drifting through life, searching for a place to belong. The audience leaned in, their eyes wide, expelling the cruel whispers that had haunted her for years. Lily continued, shaking but resolute. Each story here has the power to connect us, to heal us. Together, we are no longer invisible. As her words hung in the air, an electric energy swelled. The applause that followed felt like a river bursting through a dam, sweeping her away into a swell of acceptance. As the night faded into dawn, surrounded by everyone she had grown to love, Lily felt a culmination of joy and liberation. She understood that her story didn't just matter in the context of her own existence. It echoed in the hearts of others, carving a path for them to follow too. The church, once a lonely refuge, had morphed into a vibrant hub of connection, creativity, and understanding. And within its hallowed walls, Lily had transformed from the girl who slept in the pews to a vibrant, visible part of a community that thrived on shared experiences. Months passed. The art group flourished, drawing more and more individuals searching for connection. They hosted workshops, art classes, and community events, spreading the message that no one had to walk through life alone. As she stood before a group one evening, now a confident and integral part of the community, Lily noticed how far she had come. I used to think I was the only one, she shared with the newcomers, her voice steady and strong, but she knew better now. Each of us carries a story that is worth sharing. The walls of the church echoed with laughter and chatter, the connection thriving in every corner. Lily had finally come home, not just to a place, but to herself. And in discovering her story, she unlocked a world of understanding and love that she had never imagined possible. Now, as the church bells rang in the stillness once more, she smiled, embracing the heartbeat of a community that thrived on the very essence of connection. No longer did she feel like a ghost. She was vibrant, alive, and proud of every mark she had left along the way. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the churchyard as Lily sat alone in the back pew. She wore her faded hoodie like a shield, hoping to blend into the fabric of the worn wood. Outside, laughter rang out from nearby houses, children chased each other, and the world throbbed with life. But inside, it was just her and the echo of the sacred space, not a soul in sight. Just days earlier, she'd overheard whispers at school, those casual but cutting remarks as if they were blades slicing through her fragile self-esteem. Her classmates didn't know, and she liked it that way. They didn't feel the burden she carried, the heavy weight of feeling utterly invisible. So the church became her hideaway, a refuge from the storm raging outside. As she settled into the coolness of the pew, the familiar scent of incense wrapped around her like an embrace. She closed her eyes, letting the stillness wash over her. But that comforting moment shattered when the heavy wooden door creaked open, sending a sliver of light into the dusky interior. Lily's heart raced. She shrank deeper into her nook, but her curiosity wrestled with her instinct to stay hidden. A figure emerged, a woman, perhaps in her late 30s, her kind face framed by soft curls. She entered with a sense of purpose, her footsteps echoing gently against the stone floor. The woman called out, her voice like a soft melody breaking the oppressive silence. Lily held her breath, letting the moment hang like a precarious spider's web. The woman continued forward, her eyes scanning the sanctuary, eventually landing on a small altar adorned with flickering candles. "I come here to find peace," the woman said, her tone introspective. "Some say it's a sanctuary, a place free from judgment." There was something in her tone that resonated deep within Lily, something that tugged at her heartstrings. Without thinking, she slipped out from behind the pew just enough to be seen. She whispered. The woman turned, eyes wide in surprise. "Yes, I thought I was alone," she replied, her smile illuminating the dim space. "I'm Lily," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Sarah," the woman replied. Not really," Lily stammered, twisting the fabric of her hoodie between her fingers. "Sometimes we all need a spot to escape," Sarah said, moving closer. "But you don't have to be alone. There's a group I started that meets here for art and sharing stories. You should join us, Lily." Something in Sarah's eyes sparked a flicker of hope in Lily's heart. What if this group held the key to breaking down the walls she had built around herself? After all, hadn't she felt isolated for far too long? "I'm not sure," Lily replied, fear creeping back in. "You might be surprised," Sarah encouraged, leaning forward. "Every story here is important." Lily's mind raced. The thought of facing strangers, bearing her soul, terrified her. Yet the kindness in Sarah's words floated in the back of her mind as she left the church that evening, filling the empty spaces within her with a sense of possibility. Days passed, and life continued to feel like a heavy burden. School, friends, and whispered conversations weighed upon her. But she couldn't shake Sarah's invitation. That tiny glimmer of hope, a lifeline thrown into her stormy sea, dared her to take a chance. On a rainy Thursday evening, with thunder rumbling like the call of adventure, she made her decision. She squared her shoulders and walked back into the church, each step pounding like a drumbeat in her ears. The warmth engulfed her as she entered, the aroma of old wood and candles mingling together. Sarah stood in front of a table laden with art supplies, and her warm smile sent a ripple of calm through Lily. "Sarah!" exclaimed, excitement evident in her voice. Lily hesitated only briefly before stepping further into the room, joining a circle of a few other young people, Mia with her paint-splattered clothes, Marcus plucking at his guitar, and another boy, Daniel, quietly sketching in a notebook. "Don't worry," Mia said with a friendly grin. "We're all just here to be ourselves." As they began to share their experiences, Lily listened, captivated by the tales woven around her. Mia spoke of anxiety that gripped her during classes, and Marcus expressed the pressure to fit into a world that often felt suffocating. Each voice resonated, a heartbeat in time with her own, but when it was her turn, her nerves twisted like a tangled knot. I'm Lily," she began, her voice quivering. "I've always felt lost." Her eyes darted down, afraid of what they might think, but then she caught Sarah's encouraging gaze, urging her to continue. And something inside Lily sparked an ember of courage. "I thought I could find a place to belong, maybe even just for a night," she admitted, her voice gaining strength. Mia nodded, her eyes glistening with understanding. "You're not alone, Lily." The room felt alive, an electric current of connection running between them. In those moments, they peeled back the layers of their stories, revealing raw truths and shared vulnerabilities, dissolving the isolation that had been their reality for far too long. As weeks turned into months, the group transformed their encounters into more than just shared stories. They found therapy in art, painting walls, creating music, expressing emotions that had long been silenced. Each evening was an exploration, a journey that took them beyond their fears and insecurities. One night, under the soft glow of candlelight, Sarah announced, "Let's have a showcase, share our art with the community." Excitement rippled through the group, but with it came a wave of apprehension for Lily. She voiced quietly. Marcus countered, his eyes sharp with determination. The day of the showcase arrived, and the church was adorned with colorful paintings, sketch stories, and heartfelt melodies. Lily's stomach twisted in knots, and doubt loomed larger than ever. Would the crowd accept them? Who would even show up? As the doors opened, visitors began to stream in, curious faces filling the space. Lily pushed through the tension, eyes darting as she counted familiar ones, among them friends from school, some who had taken the time to come, others who whispered supportive words. Lily stood beside her artwork, her heart racing, waiting for her moment. Would everyone flock to her piece, or would she stand amid silence, just another face in the crowd? But then something shifted. As Mia shared her piece, the room fell silent. Each brushstroke, she revealed her struggles and dreams, and the audience soaked it in, nodding, connecting. Next, Marcus took to the center, strumming his guitar, each note cascading into the atmosphere like magic. The crowd clapped, shared joy pouring from every corner of the room. A warmth enveloped Lily. It wasn't just about art, it was about connection. Finally, it was Lily's turn. Heart pounding, she stepped in front of the gathering, her breath caught in her throat as she faced a sea of expectant faces. "This is mine," she said, hesitating before gesturing to her painting. It represented her journey-swirling colors of doubt with a light breaking through at the center. "For a long time I thought I was alone, but now I know that we share this struggle together." Those words tumbled out as if unearthing a hidden treasure. The room echoed with applause, rippling outward like the soft lap of waves against the shore. Tears brimmed in her eyes. In that moment, she understood that every brushstroke of her story resonated deeply, not just for her, but for everyone. The audience mirrored her vulnerability, clapping, connecting, and celebrating the power of shared experiences. Afterward, as she mingled with the visitors, a classmate approached her. "Hey, Lily," he said, his voice hesitant. "I didn't know anything about you until tonight. I'm sorry for being dismissive." "Thank you," she replied, surprised yet touched. As the night unfolded, connections blossomed like wildflowers, vibrant and untamed. Visitors came up to her, sharing their own stories of loneliness and triumphs, proving that their paths had been intertwined in unexpected ways. Days turned into weeks, and their group evolved into a heartwarming community, a sanctuary where harm turned to healing. They organized monthly meetups, painting workshops, and community outreach, determined to spread their message far and wide. In the quiet of the church, the same pew where Lily had once felt so alone became a soft space where laughter echoed. On a particularly bright Sunday morning, Sarah stood before the community, her face radiant. "The stories we create are stronger together." The group began creating a festival, inviting their neighbors to join in. Together, they painted murals, welcomed performers, and held open mic nights. It was as if the walls of the church had absorbed their collective energy, bursting forth into vibrant life. Lily stood back one evening, watching the preparations unfold with a sense of belonging that she had longed for. The little girl who had once hidden in the pews felt empowered now, her heart swelling with purpose. The church that once felt like a retreat from pain blossomed into a home where others could uncover their stories too. As the festival day arrived, families gathered, marveling at the colorful art splashed across the walls. Laughter echoed through the air, and new connections sparked with every conversation. Standing by her mural with vivid hues swirling around her, Lily felt something shift again. A sense of pride and acceptance enveloped her. The church was now a beacon of hope and love, lifting others out of the shadows of their loneliness. Just as she caught her breath, a small girl approached, wide-eyed and curious. She asked, gazing up at the colors that danced across the wall. "Yes," Lily replied, kneeling to meet her eye level. "And it tells a story." The girl nodded hesitantly. "I like to draw." Lily smiled, warmth flooding her heart. Every story matters, even if it feels small, it's important. In that moment, Lily understood she had turned from the girl who slept in the church pews into something so much more. She had become a lighthouse, casting light onto the paths of those still searching for safety. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the festival, Lily stood surrounded by friends new and old. Together, they had created a tapestry of connection, each thread woven with compassion and understanding. And as the church bells chimed softly in the distance, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She wasn't just part of a community, she was its heartbeat. The girl who once felt alone now knew that within shared stories, she had found a family. In the sanctuary of the church, where silence once weaved its spell around her, now joy and laughter flowed freely, transforming old shadows into vibrant tales of hope. And she knew without a doubt that she would never have to face the darkness alone again. The old church sat at the end of Maple Street, its jagged spires reaching up into the twilight sky like pleading hands. Inside, the scent of polished wood and burning candles lingered, a sweet comfort in an otherwise chaotic world. Lily crouched in a corner pew, wrapping her arms tightly around her knees. She was supposed to be at home, warm and safe, but instead she was hiding a ghost in her own life. The whispers echoed through her mind as hard as the bells had tolled. Weird, they said. Lily wasn't just the girl who slept in church pews, she was the girl who never quite fit. Tonight was different though. She was restless, watching the shadows flicker under the soft glow of candlelight. With the world outside booming with laughter and light, an idea took hold. She stood abruptly, feeling an unusual weight pressing on her chest. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to reach out. As she contemplated her next steps, the heavy oak door swung open with an echoing creak. Startled, Lily shrank back into the shadows, her heart racing. It was a woman around 30, with gentle eyes and tousled hair entering with purpose. Her presence lit up the dim interior as she walked forward, glancing around. The woman called softly, her voice a soothing balm against the tense silence. Lily held her breath, wrestling with the immediate urge to slip away, but curiosity tugged at her. What was this woman looking for in a place like this? The woman continued, her tone laced with warmth. She moved toward the altar, lighting a candle. The soft flame flickered to life, casting a glow that made everything feel a little less lonely. Lily thought, but the woman's easy confidence radiated a sense of comfort, beckoning Lily out from her shell. Taking a tentative step forward, she spoke, barely a whisper breaking the stillness. The woman turned, a bright smile spreading across her face like dawn breaking. "Oh, there you are. I thought I was alone. I'm Sarah." Lily hesitated, grappling with an old instinct to hide, but Sarah's kind eyes invited her closer. I'm Lily, she finally managed. Sarah replied. Lily blinked back her surprise. Seen. Sometimes solitude can lead to seeing ourselves more clearly, Sarah said, but we don't have to stay alone forever. There's a group I lead that meets here. We share art, stories, things that matter. The thought stirred something deep inside Lily, a spark she hadn't felt in a long time. What if she could connect with others who felt as lost as she often did? What if her story mattered? Maybe, she said slowly, weighing her words. Everyone fits somewhere, Sarah smiled gently. As Sarah's words hung in the air, Lily felt the walls around her heart begin to crack. No longer could she deny that the aching loneliness had burnt deep beneath her skin. Maybe this was a chance to change that. That evening, as the last rays of sunlight began to fade, Lily paced nervously outside the church. She took a deep breath, steeling herself against the storm of doubt swirling in her mind, then pushed the heavy door open. Stepping inside felt like entering a sacred space, one filled with possibilities. The atmosphere buzzed as Sarah greeted her at the door, radiating encouragement. Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Lily felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach, but she quickly forced a smile. The words slipped out more like a confession than a statement. You already do, Sarah assured her, guiding her into the main room where a few others had gathered. Mia was there, brushing short strokes on a canvas, and Marcus perched with a guitar, quietly strumming gentle chords. Everyone here understands that feeling, Sarah said, gesturing toward the others. We're just here to share who we are and create. Taking a deep breath, Lily felt a hesitant excitement bubble up, urging her to take a seat. As they all settled into a circle, the tension in her chest began to ease, replaced by an unexpected warmth. Mia opened up first, sharing her struggles with anxiety and how she turned to art to express feelings she couldn't quite put into words. Painting is my therapy, she said. Lily listened closely, the familiarity of Mia's experiences resonating profoundly. She noticed nods of understanding around the room, as if everyone was wrapped in a comforting blanket of acceptance. Exclaimed Marcus, his bright smile difficult to resist. Her heart raced at the thought of sharing her story, but something about the encouraging faces around her felt disarming. I thought I could find a place to be, less invisible, she began, her voice trembling slightly. A hush fell over the group. Mia leaned in closer. You're not alone in feeling that way. Something shifted in the air. With each word exchanged, something vital began to grow, a connection, fragile yet powerful. The meetings became a source of comfort and creativity, where budding friendships blossomed amid laughter and shared stories. Each time they met, it felt like peeling back layers of fears, of hopes, of dreams, all shared beneath a tapestry of understanding. As the weeks progressed and the intensity of midterms swirled outside, the safety of their little sanctuary felt like a warm hug, each laugh weaving them closer. They welcomed newcomers like a family, inviting anyone who felt lost to step into the light. One evening, Sarah looked around at them all, an idea glimmering in her eyes. Let's showcase our art, share our stories with the community. Excitement and fear washed over them, and they began planning the event with enthusiasm. But fear bubbled up inside Lily. She voiced, glancing down at her hands. Mia countered, determination shining in her eyes. As the day of the showcase approached, nerves twisted like vines in Lily's stomach. What if they laughed? What if her art wasn't good enough? But she couldn't ignore the pang of hope that blossomed as the walls began to take shape, each stroke of paint telling the story of her journey, the shadows and the light. On the night of the event, the church buzzed with excitement, festooned in colorful art, their pieces splashed across every surface, vibrant whispers of their souls on display. As people began to trickle in, Lily's heart raced. Friends from school arrived alongside curious neighbors. The energy in the room crackled with anticipation. When it was time for the first presentation, Lily stood behind her easel, her hands trembling. Sarah had set the stage, encouraging everyone to share their experiences as they unveiled their work. Mia stepped forward, ready to showcase her painting, a vivid depiction of her struggles with anxiety, a stormy sky dotted with colors of hope. The room fell silent as she shared her story. Words spilled from her like a healing river, and applause poured from the crowd, stirring something deep within Lily. Then it was Marcus's turn. With his guitar in hand, he strummed a melody that echoed in the hearts of those gathered. As he sang about vulnerability and friendship, the audience became a part of the experience, swaying and humming along. Lily felt her heartbeat quicken as her moment approached. It was scary and exhilarating, the kind of fear that made her heart race like a wild stallion. She stepped forward, her painting on display beside her, a burst of colors swirling together, capturing her once isolated soul. This is my story, she began, her voice unwavering despite the flutter in her chest. I used to think I was alone, lost in a world where nobody saw me. Applause erupted, washing over her like golden sunlight breaking through the clouds. In that fleeting moment, she realized she was not just revealing her art, she was offering a glimpse into her heart, a bridge to connect with others. After the show, people gathered around, sharing compliments and stories of their own. A boy from school approached her hesitantly at first. Lily, I never knew you felt this way. His sincerity and the look in his eyes melted something inside her. "Thank you," she replied, feeling lighter than she had in years. The connections blossomed that night, new friendships formed in unexpected ways. As they packed up, laughter echoed in the church, transforming it from a sanctuary of solitude to a cradle of warmth and belonging. Hours passed in a blur of energy and emotion. By the time the last guests departed, Lily laughed alongside her newfound friends, her heart fuller than it had ever been. Days turned into weeks as their group flourished, spreading warmth through the community. They organized events and workshops, embracing their stories and inviting others to create. As each person shared their experiences, Lily watched the magic unfold. They painted murals together, performed music, and even started writing poetry that spilled from their souls like a breathtaking waterfall. Then one night, as they gathered to paint, Sarah suddenly paused, looking around the room. She smiled. "How about we take this a step further?" Excitement bubbled instantly, igniting enthusiasm in the room. Ideas and plans flowed like a river breaking free from its banks. Over the coming weeks, they transformed the churchyard into a magical space, adorned with colorful banners, lights strung like stars, and art that lined the walls. As the festival day approached, Lily felt nervous yet exhilarated. She had grown so much since that first meeting. The shy girl who hid in the pews now stepped forward to embrace opportunity and connection. When festival day finally arrived, families poured into the church courtyard, laughter mingling with the echoes of music and art. Lily stood among her friends, radiant with joy, soaking in the beauty of everything they had created together. For the first time, she felt a sense of home, not just within the walls of the church, but in the people around her. The festival became a tapestry woven from stories of hope, resilience, and connection. Children painted side by side, attendees mingled, sharing laughter in their own tales. In the warmth of the sun, a spirit of freedom blossomed. As twilight cast a gentle glow, the church bells began to toll, wrapping everyone in a comforting embrace. In that moment, Lily understood. She was not just the girl who slept in the pews. She was a crucial thread in the fabric of their shared stories. Each voice mattered, each story resonated, and her heart swelled with an overwhelming power. As she looked around, she saw the magic they had created together. No longer was Lily isolated by her fears. She was part of something beautiful, meaningful. In the warm embrace of connection, the shadows that once held her captive began to dissipate, replaced by a tapestry of stories shared among friends. And in that thrumming sanctuary, the girl who thought she'd always be alone discovered the strength of unity, the power of love, and the magic of belonging. The church bells rang out in the distance, their deep tones reverberating through the empty streets of Maple Lane. Inside, amidst the solemn wooden pews and the faint fragrance of incense, a girl named Lily lay curled up, trying to find solace in the shadows. She had learned to see the church as a refuge, a place where she could escape from the turmoil outside. It was where she could hide from the whispers and stares that followed her every move at school. On many nights like this, as darkness settled around her, the church felt more like a cave than a sanctuary. The heavy silence wrapped around her, thick and enveloping, a contrast to the noise that blared in her head. But tonight, unlike any other, something flickered in the air, something alive and electric. As she lay there, contemplating the emptiness that cocooned her, she heard the heavy doors creak open. Jolted, she sat up and peered through the shadows. A woman stepped inside, her figure illuminated by the moonlight streaming through the stained glass. The woman seemed almost ethereal, dressed in a long coat, her hair flowing like waves. She called softly, her voice breaking through the silence. She took a step farther in, looking for someone, anyone. In that moment, curiosity wrestled with her instinct to retreat. Would it be so bad to hear a friendly voice? Lily felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. What if this woman saw her? What if she asked too many questions? But there was something about the woman's presence that felt calming, like rain after a long drought. Gathering her courage, Lily stood and stepped into the flickering light. "I'm here," she said, the words trembling in the air. The woman turned, her features softening into a smile that lit up the dim room. She moved closer, her warmth filling the space. "I'm Sarah. I often come here to think." "It is," Lily replied, her voice still small. "I come here sometimes." Sarah's eyes sparkled. "You know, being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely." Lily's heart fluttered at the thought. It was hard to imagine a world where she wasn't alone, where she could share her experiences with others. Something deep inside urged her to open up, but she hesitated. Sarah asked gently, coaxing Lily out of her shell. "Not really." The words tumbled out more easily now, as if the act of sharing brought a sense of relief. "Escape is good, but it's better when we realize we're not meant to do it alone," Sarah encouraged. "There's a group that meets here sometimes. We share stories and create art, just a place to be ourselves." The very idea sent a shiver of excitement through Lily, mingled with doubt. "I don't think I'd belong." She felt small again, that familiar feeling of being out of place creeping in. Sarah smiled knowingly. "You don't have to be an artist to express yourself. Everyone has a story to tell." Feeling a flicker of courage, Lily nodded, though uncertainty still danced in her mind. Maybe she could try. Maybe there was still a glimmer of hope within her darkened corners. Days passed, her life swirling around a tumult of emotions, shadows of anxiety creeping over her like a fog. But the thought of joining Sarah's group lingered in the back of her mind. Perhaps it was time to step out of the shadows to emerge into the light. The day Lily finally decided to attend, raindrops danced against the window pane, a soft melody accompanying her beating heart. For every drop that fell, her nerves spiked. Was this the right decision? Her mind whispered anxieties that threatened to drown her resolve. With a deep breath, she pushed open the heavy doors of the church and stepped inside. The familiar scent of wood and candles washed over her, a welcome embrace. Sarah was already there, her bright smile easing Lily's tension. Sarah exclaimed, warmth radiating as others trickled in. Mia with her sketchbook, Marcus tapping his fingers on a guitar, and Daniel, who held a camera like it was an extension of himself. "Welcome to our little haven," Mia said, her eyes sparkling. As the group settled into a circle, Lily felt the initial pangs of anxiety soften. She watched them share their stories, a mix of laughter and vulnerability painting the air. Mia spoke about her struggles with anxiety and how art became her outlet. "When I paint, I can express things I can't say with words," she explained, her voice laced with emotion. Lily listened, captivated. In that moment, she felt a bond forming, threads of connection weaving between them. They were all searching for something, a way to be understood, a way to be seen. Then it was Marcus's turn. With his guitar, he strummed a few notes, his voice blending with the chords in a soothing melody. "Music helps me feel less alone," he shared, his eyes glistening with sincerity. Lily felt her heartbeat quicken as she realized how relatable each story was. They were all battling their own demons, struggling with feelings of isolation. As she watched them share openly, her heart began to swell with a glimmer of hope. When it was finally her turn, she hesitated. "I'm Lily," she said quietly, her voice wavering. But Sarah's warm gaze urged her to continue, and slowly the words began pouring out. "I feel invisible at school most of the time. It's like no one sees me. I come here to escape, but maybe." The room fell silent as the others listened intently. In that moment, vulnerability enveloped Lily like a warm embrace. Empathy began to unfold in the room, soft smiles and nods reverberating as they connected through shared experiences. In that brief exchange, Lily learned that she wasn't just another girl in the pews, she was part of something much larger than herself. The nights turned into weeks, the connections deepened, and the group transformed into a tightly knit community. They painted, shared poetry, wrote music, and laughed together like old friends. Every meeting felt like a warm embrace, washing away the loneliness that had once engulfed Lily. One evening, as they basked in the glow of candlelight, Sarah proposed something new. "Let's showcase our work." Excitement rippled through the group, but a wave of hesitation washed over Lily. She voiced fear creeping in. Mia countered, her eyes sparkling. "Sometimes you have to take that leap." Lily's nerves twisted like vines as the date approached, yet the thought of hiding away couldn't hold a candle to the realization that she had grown so much since that first day. Scared but determined, she decided to embrace the challenge. On the night of the showcase, the church buzzed with eager anticipation. Colorful artwork hung against the walls, each piece a vibrant reflection of their journey together. Friends and family trickled in, filling the room with energy, laughter, and warmth. As people mingled, Lily felt a mix of nerves and excitement, but then something unbelievable happened. A couple of her classmates from school showed up, hesitant yet curious. She recognized them from the lingering looks they exchanged in the hallways. Would they judge her? Would they understand? As the presentations began, Marcus stepped forward, sharing heartfelt stories behind his songs, the audience captivated. Applause erupted as he finished, a wave of encouragement washing over everyone. Mia followed, revealing her art and sharing how it intertwined with her struggles. Each piece unfolded a narrative that resonated deeply with those around her. Then it was Lily's moment. She stepped to the front, her heart pounding fiercely against her chest. She had painted a mural representing her emotions. The chaotic swirl of uncertainty melted into a brilliant bloom of hope at the center, bursting with color. Taking a deep breath, she spoke, her voice stronger now. "A while ago, I felt invisible. But this group taught me that my story matters. We've all shared our struggles, our hopes and fears." The applause rang out once more, enveloping her like a blanket. Something magical happened in that moment, faces filled with understanding and pride reflected back at her. As the night progressed, conversations swirled around her, laughter chiming like bells. Classmates approached her, expressions brimming with sincerity. "I didn't know any of this about you, Lily," one said. The night morphed into a whirlwind of acceptance, a collective understanding blooming in the air. No longer was she just a girl who slept in the pews. She had transformed into a part of a vibrant tapestry woven together by shared pain and liberation. Days turned to weeks, and the group's unity blossomed further. They launched community projects, spreading awareness about mental health and fostering connections beyond their church walls. The sanctuary transformed into a beacon of hope for those who felt lost, echoing with laughter and love. One evening, as they sat in the church together, Sarah looked at all of them, her eyes glistening with joy. "We've created a safe space here, one where we can be ourselves. Let's keep this going." Excitement ignited within the group as plans took form, visions of a colorful gathering alive with art, music, and heartfelt expressions. In those planning sessions, the fear of being alone slipped away, replaced instead with determination and hope. When the festival day arrived, sunlight broke through clouds like a golden blessing. The churchyard filled with families, laughter ringing like a melody. Children painted murals while musicians strummed their guitars, each tiny moment creating a beautiful symphony of connection. Standing at the center, Lily felt the warmth enveloping her, the laughter cascading like waves crashing against the shore. She was surrounded not by strangers but by friends, a family forged in shared narratives. As she looked around, the shadows of insecurity and loneliness faded away. The girl who once hid in the pews now stood tall, embracing the love that radiated from those around her. Each gain, each moment spoke of resilience, a testament to their strength together. Called Marcus, catching her attention. Her heart soared at the thought. With a wide grin, she rushed over to join him, bursting with excitement to create alongside her friends. And as they painted, the colors brightened with each stroke, illuminating everything around them. In that moment, it became clear to Lily. She hadn't just found a refuge, she had discovered a home. No longer just a solitary girl sitting in a pew, she was part of a thriving community, a place where every voice mattered and no one had to face the darkness alone. As laughter and colors bloomed around her, she reveled in the undeniable truth. She was not alone and never would be again. In the heart of the church and the bonds they created, she finally found the connection she had long sought. And the girl who once hid in the shadows now danced in the light. Lily huddled in the far corner of the church, her breath quiet against the backdrop of history that surrounded her. The heavy oak door creaked open, spilling a shaft of light across the dimly lit sanctuary. She remained still, nestled in the wooden pew, a shadow among shadows, hoping to escape the world outside. Outside, it was chaos, laughter, car engines, and the thrill of youth. In here, she felt like a ghost with whispered fears dancing in her mind. Every Thursday evening, the sounds of life outside lulled her into a trance, and on this night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she closed her eyes, absorbing the silence. It was her ritual coming here to relieve the loneliness that clung to her like a second skin, but tonight was different. As she sat in her familiar spot, she sensed a weight in the air, a tension that coiled tight in her chest. And then it happened. A sudden rustling echoed from the back, breaking the stillness. Lily blinked her eyes open just in time to see another figure slip into the church, barely a silhouette against the backdrop of stained glass. A voice rang out, both startled and curious. Lily's heart raced. She fought the urge to hide further into her corner. Instead, what pulled her attention was how, despite their surprise, this person sounded strangely calm. Not like a threat, but like someone seeking refuge, too. The stranger called again, stepping cautiously forward. As the figure emerged from the shadows, the flickering candlelight revealed a girl around Lily's age, perhaps 17. She had tangled hair, wild and free, and her eyes sparkled with something akin to curiosity. "I didn't expect anyone else here," she said, a gentle laugh escaping her lips. Lily swallowed hard. The girl felt as if she could see through her, peeling back layers of loneliness, protective walls, and despair. "I come here to think," she offered, her voice barely a murmur. The girl stepped closer, her presence warm and inviting. "Me too, I'm Emma," she said, extending a hand as if daring Lily to take it. Lily retorted, a flicker of defensiveness slipping into her tone. Emma chuckled softly, the sound soothing like rain on rooftops. "I get that, but maybe it's not just about escaping." There was an openness in Emma's expression, an air of understanding that pulled at Lily's heartstrings. Maybe it wasn't just about leaving behind the chaos. Perhaps it was about rediscovering herself. It was a perspective Lily had never considered. As they talked, the dim sanctuary came alive with shared stories, fragments of their lives slipping between them like delicate threads. Emma's smile was infectious, lighting a spark in Lily's heart. She shared her struggles at school, battling the weight of expectations and the ache of being unseen. "I thought I would find peace here," Emma said, her tone drifting between nostalgia and warmth. Their laughter hung in the air, echoing softly through the high ceilings. The connection was instant, magnetic. Lily felt the fear unraveling piece by piece as Emma welcomed her into a world that didn't accept the girl who slept in the church pews but celebrated her instead. Weeks flowed like a river, and Lily began to spend more evenings in the church, drawn by this budding friendship. They filled their time with storytelling, sharing art, and nourishing each other's hopes. Together, they leaned into their vulnerabilities, forming a bond that felt both surreal and empowering. One evening, as they sat cross-legged on the church floor, surrounded by paint splatters and sketches, Lily glanced toward the ancient stained glass, the colors glowing in the fading sunlight. She mused, excitement bubbling within her. Emma raised her eyebrows, considering the idea. Like an art showcase, invite the community. Yes. Lily's voice grew more animated, the thought thriving as she spoke. Emma leaned back against the cool stone, her smile fading momentarily as reality crashed back in. Lily exclaimed, holding Emma's gaze firmly. "Even if just one person shows up, it would matter. We can help someone even if it's just a small group." A spark ignited in Emma's eyes, a flicker of newfound hope shining through her doubt. Together they started planning, pouring their energy into creating an event that pulsed with the promise of connection and acceptance. Each day that passed saw the church evolve under the weight of anticipation. Art adorned the walls, canvases became vessels of shared experience, and the air was filled with the magic of cultivating something anew. As the night of the showcase approached, Lily's nerves twisted inside her like a tightly coiled spring. What if it all fell flat? What if no one came? Emma asked quietly one evening, echoing the thoughts swirling in Lily's mind. "Then we'll show them who we are," Lily replied, her resolve firming like steel. The night of the showcase arrived, and the church transformed into a vibrant tapestry filled with colors of hope and connection. As people trickled in, the excitement buzzed like electric currents in the air. Friends from school appeared, curiosity lighting their faces, and Lily's stomach fluttered with equal parts anxiety and exhilaration. Emma whispered, her voice a mix of disbelief and excitement. "Just go with it," Lily encouraged, her confidence blooming as she ushered Emma toward the first visitors. And then it began. One by one they shared their art, each story unveiling snippets of lives cherished and battles fought. Lily watched in awe as Marcus performed with his guitar, each strum sending ripples of emotion through the crowd. Mia's paintings conveyed raw emotion, each brushstroke capturing a piece of her soul. But when Lily stepped up, clutching her own painting, a wave of doubt washed over her. What if they laughed? What if they couldn't connect with her? As she took a deep breath, the world around her faded away, leaving only her heart and the beating rhythm of her resolve. "This piece represents my journey," she began, her voice trembling. "I used to believe I was invisible, a shadow floating through life, but here, standing before you all, I realize I'm not alone." A hush fell over the room. For a moment she felt suspended in time, the weight of her words hanging delicately in the air, and then for the first time in her life she felt seen. Applause erupted, echoing off the old stone walls, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. In that moment she recognized the power of sharing, of vulnerability. The fear that had once shackled her shattered like glass, leaving behind only shards of light. As the night unfolded, they mingled with visitors, sharing smiles and laughter, demonstrating that stories could be bridges connecting hearts. Students approached, sharing their own experiences, their own feelings of isolation. Each newfound connection fortified Lily's sense of belonging, a tribe forged in shared struggles. But just as hope soared, reality struck hard. A group of older teens arrived unexpectedly, some familiar faces, others strangers with predatory grins. They loitered close to the entrance, their laughter ringing out like hammers against fragile hearts. "What a joke," one sneered, eyeing the displayed artwork. Lily's heart sank as the laughter echoed off the walls, carrying sharp daggers that cut through the warmth of connection. The energy shifted like a storm rolling in, dark clouds shadowing their small haven. Emma's face blanched, fear flickering in her eyes. Lily felt the ground trembling beneath her, uncertainty creeping in like fog. Could this moment, the culmination of their hard work, be tarnished by cruelty? The laughter continued unabated until one of them pulled away from the group. He stepped inside, smirking as he looked around. "What a bunch of losers," he called out. Suddenly the air thickened with tension, a palpable shift that pressed on everyone. Lily stood frozen, the weight of judgment binding her to the floor. She glanced at Emma, who shrugged helplessly, fear reflected in her expressive eyes. But just when it felt like darkness might consume them entirely, Sarah stepped forward, unwavering and bold. "This isn't about you," she said firmly, her voice steady. "We're creating a space of acceptance and hope." For a moment, silence enveloped them, the confidence of Sarah's words hanging heavy in the air. Lily felt a spark reignite within her, courage fueled by the strength of their unity. "Yeah, this isn't a joke," Lily found herself saying, her voice growing steadier. "These stories matter." The tension shifted, the laughter now replaced by a simmering unease. The older teens exchanged confused glances, their bravado faltering under the weight of communal defiance. And just like that, they turned, striding out of the church, leaving behind an echo of their disbelief and cowardice. In that moment, empowerment surged through the room like a wildfire. What had once felt raw and exposed transformed into a rallying cry. Everyone turned toward each other, eyes shimmering with a mix of relief and triumph. Laughter filled the air again, but this time it was infused with the strength of camaraderie. "Together we are stronger," Emma affirmed, a bright smile crossing her face. But as the night continued, a sense of urgency took hold. The showcase was wonderful, but doubt began to creep back in. What if they needed more than just a one-time event to combat the loneliness? Lily felt an idea form, a fierce determination igniting within her. They couldn't stop here, not now. "We need to create an ongoing space," she said to Emma and the others. Just as they began to brainstorm, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness for a brief moment. Gasps filled the room as confusion rippled through the group. And then silence. Lily's heart raced, felt like the calm before a storm. In the dim light, she could see the worried expressions on their faces, fear sudden and raw. But in that moment, something unpredictable happened. The doors burst open once more, and a police officer stepped inside, his expression stern. "We received reports of a disturbance," he said firmly. Before Lily realized it, the tension thickened yet again. As eyes turned toward the officer, doubt rushed back. What if this was the end of their sanctuary? The scene shifted, a tidal wave of uncertainty crashing against the shore of courage they had worked so hard to build. And as the officer scanned the room, Lily felt fate hang in the balance, hovering above them like a question yet to be answered. Everything they had fought for hung by a thread, and in the silence that followed, her heart raced with the fear of losing what had finally become home. Would they crumble, or would they rise from the ashes of doubt, leading to something even more profound? Would they find a way to turn the tide, or would the shadows creep back in, threatening to engulf them all once more? The uncertainty loomed large, a heavy fog settling in, leaving Lily wondering what lay ahead.